Hello, and welcome to another episode of the M42 Adventures Podcast. I am your host, Rick Trimmer, and today we have a special guest. As you can see, we are in here working on our studio. We've got new lights up, new background. Basically, the reason why is because we had a brand person come in, a brand consultant, and he told us that, you know, M42 Adventures is for men, women, youth, to go outside and do all these different adventures, mountain biking, surfing, hunting, fishing, all these different things. And we were not portraying that. So we're in our new studio. This is our first ever podcast with this new studio. And it actually is fitting because our guest today is Serenity Thurston. So it's our second ever female guest. The only other one has been my wife, Gina. And so I think it's a good way to kick off this new studio and get a woman's view. She is an entrepreneur. She's a mother. She's a wife. She has a very inspiring story from the little bit that I know about her. And I'm excited to dive into this one. She's ran marathons. She's an avid outdoors woman. And so I'm excited for this one. So stay tuned and we'll jump into this conversation. So basically, we were talking a little bit about my story a little bit, but I'm excited to hear yours. So what's cool about this and why we wanted you on is we just actually redid our studio. So I used to record over here in the corner. And as you can see, I'm a hunter. You know,
nice.
I enjoy that. And M42 Adventures is not hunting. So we had this brand guy come in and he's like, we're like, hey, we want to, have you look at our studio and our message. And he's like, okay, so you're like a hunting brand, manly men. And I'm like, no, we're men, women, youth, surfing, all these different things. And he's like, well, I'm not getting that from that background. So Chase, actually, who's on here with us, came in and did all this.
Amazing, Chase.
Yeah. So
you've got a constellation.
Yeah. So M42, people always ask, what's M42? M42 is the scientific name for the Orion constellation.
Okay.
So I love, I like stars and all that kind of things. I just think it's beautiful. And we wanted Orion because he's like the hunter, right? Again, I've just got to get off brand.
So cool.
And so
cool.
But that's taken in everything you try to do. We actually had it named Exodus in the beginning. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
So it was called Exodus, and with just an X, Xodus. And it was cool because the X, we had made like a tent. It was a cool logo.
Yeah.
And we spent about $10,000, launched, and 2 months later, we found out that there's a company in South Carolina that has a podcast it was too similar. My patent attorney found it last minute. Ryan Mickler actually found it. Anyway. And so we had to change the name. So that's what that is. The constellation M42 is the scientific name of the nebula that created Orion.
And Orion is a hunter.
Yeah, I think so. Isn't that what he is? Kind of Greek god of hunting or something like that.
Okay.
So again, I just think I thought it was cool. It's something unique. And so this is our new studio. And I think it's perfect that you're our first guest in here because I think I had my wife on, and that's it. So you're the second woman.
I feel so honored.
Yeah.
I feel so honored.
And it's I just want people to understand that, this is not just a men's community. It's, we want everybody to be involved. And then
it's a collective experience you're trying to build.
Yeah. That's like you were just saying, what made you want to do this? What made you start this? And we got into a little bit of my story. And I won't go too long into that, but basically I've been traveling and spending time with my family for the last 8 years full time, which is crazy. We've had some good moments there. But I'll spend literally 24/7 with them for 12 months, which is crazy. A lot of us, you need what's that? What are you saying, Ricky? Oh, I'm not allowed to do this.
Oh. Keep your hands to yourself.
That's what he means.
Expressiveness is real.
Yeah. Sorry, Ricky. We need to get like a taser, shock collar. So anyway, but that's my joy is traveling. I love traveling and I love being with people wherever we're at in the world. We'll have a lot of times people will come and join us in Alaska or join us in New Zealand, Australia, wherever we're at in the world. Friends and family will come meet up for a week or two, and we'll pick them up at the airport and spend time with them. And so that was the concept behind this. One was to try to get people outside, outdoors, enjoying, getting off screens, and then also to pick up new skills. And that we were talking about that today with who do we say that to when we were talking about how this was selfish? Was that yesterday?
No, that was this morning. You were
With
talking
Teague.
with Teague, yeah.
Yeah, so Teague is our mentor in self-defense. And so I want to learn about all this. I want to learn.
So really, you're just curious about
100%.
life, about connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I have all these other companies that I've started, and they're construction, which nothing against that. That's got me where I am, but it's not my passion.
Right. It was just a means to an end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And so this is something that I love. The firearm shoot we did Saturday, I'm trying to get Chase. We're setting up a cooking one, an outdoor. I'll show you my property. Has she seen my property?
Not Elevation 40. I think I've told her about it.
Where
but
is it?
I've never showed her at Apple Valley.
Oh,
It's
amazing.
crazy.
I love it.
It's crazy.
It's so cool.
It's wild. I'll show you a quick picture here. But anyway, so we're going to do cooking events there, outdoor cooking, over the fire like Chase loves to do. Like he just had Lamborghini, right?
Yeah, I was there.
Came.
No way.
Uh-huh.
See, I was trying to get out there and I
Yeah.
could not. Was it amazing?
It was amazing to experience, and all the hard work that goes into it. And
So this is my cabin. So let's see. This is probably the best. I don't know.
oh my
It's
gosh,
crazy.
that view!
Yeah, you have to come out sometime.
360.
I would love to.
It's insane.
Can I just live there?
It's awesome. Yeah.
Do you live there?
No, we just rented it out on Airbnb.
Oh my gosh.
So I think it's a perfect location for that
Oh, yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
40 acres. Just
Yeah, it's all private. It's elevation 40 because it's elevated 40. It's 40 acres, but it's on top of a mountain.
Did you build it?
No, I bought it 4 years ago, and it was a little shack, and then we just put a bunch of money into
the
it.
story
Yeah, you did.
behind it is really cool.
Yeah, the original.
Yeah.
The old guy.
The old guy.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah. So anyway, but
An old guy started it.
yeah,
Yeah.
as a bet.
Cool.
Somebody said he couldn't build something up there, and he said, I'm going to do it. So
And then you just expanded
yeah,
that vision.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. There's carvings on the wall that like his kids made, and I left them there. It's got this history, and it's like that's a story. I'm not going to sand them off.
You're an expander.
Yeah. Try.
That's so cool.
So-
So inspiring.
Yeah, so that's the concept, and the reason I wanted you here was twofold. One, you're a woman.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to give a woman's
am.
perspective when I'm not one.
Right?
So some questions for you along that line of that, and then also Chase just says that you're into all things outdoor. I mean, it sounds like you love life as well, and you love just getting out there. You go camping. You ran a marathon, he said.
Yeah, I ran marathons. You're inspiring me right now because this is how I want to live. This is This is my ultimate goal.
To what? To travel or
To
what?
travel, to build big things, experiences.
I love it because you're an entrepreneur. You have your own business, right?
Yeah.
Are you a mother?
I'm a mother. I have 2 children.
Okay, married.
Married.
See, I think that's the thing that people don't realize that I see a lot of is my wife. Actually, she's calling me right now. She has a
Hi.
women's community,
Yeah.
and it's trying to get women to realize that you don't have to live in this little bubble.
Yeah, in a box.
You can, you can be a mom and have a business.
We can be multifaceted. We're intended to be creators.
And I think that a lot of people, and me included, I actually came up with the idea for her community with Ryan Mickler. It's a part of his, anyway, that's another story, but it's a break off of his podcast and his movement. And it was trying to get women to just, I don't know how to say it. I should have her say it. She'd be better at it, but basically have women not just get stuck in this bubble.
Yeah.
Like,
I call it the box.
Yeah.
We have this box and we have this recipe and we follow the recipe, but we don't know that we can create our own recipe.
And I think a lot of men, including me, get nervous of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We
And
wanna
this is
keep
just
things
being
safe.
honest, It's
Yeah.
like when your wife starts venturing out of the house and doing her own thing, you're
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, what's happening? It's a weird thing, right? And
Yeah.
and some are very good about it, and so I'm not saying all, but what she's been noticing is husbands kind of want to be in control. A lot of them run the money in the household, And so the woman's there, she's at home, she's taking care of the kids. The husband doesn't quite compare the same value with being at home, being a mother, as them being the wage earner. And so it's been a really crazy, hers has been going for 2 years. And it's been a really, I think you should go on her podcast. I think you'd be very good.
Yeah, I want to meet her.
Because that's what she's looking for, is people like you.
Yeah.
That, there's no, did you grow up in Utah?
I grew up here, yeah.
It's a different culture, right?
It is a different culture, but I feel like I grew up on the outskirts of it. I got to experience a certain that culture, but I also experienced another form.
See, and I think that's healthy.
Yeah.
Because I think Utah, like you said, that box can be real small in Utah. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's healthy to have these other experiences. And that's where I, like with my kids, taking them traveling, I spend a lot of time talking to them saying, if you have a girlfriend in Utah and you break up, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
There's a cute little girl over in Australia. There's a cute little girl in the Czech Republic. There's
Well, life is limitless.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. We get so fixated on our little box.
Yeah. I call it a life raft.
Yeah.
We're like, we're out swimming and then we find a life raft and we want to stay safe on this life raft. And we don't know that there's an island over here that is full of experiences, but we're like, no, this life raft is safe. We built it. It feels right. Don't let anyone else on it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's exactly right. People get comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm good. And that's what M42 is trying to do, is get people to come shoot a gun. Come go. We have a surfing experience in Costa Rica in March. Taking 20 people to Costa Rica. We got a professional surfer coming. Yeah. It's sold out, but
next time.
next time. But that's the idea, is to get people trying to do these things and actually sign up and go do it. It sounds like with you, and we have never met, so this is our first 5 minutes of talking, but I've heard a little bit about you from Chase, but it sounds like you're a doer.
Yeah.
You go and you start a business and you take the risks, and, and I don't think, so kind of walk me through, were you always this way? So you grew up here in St. George, Utah.
Yeah.
Were you always kind of a person that, pushed the boundaries or thought outside the box?
Well, I think because I grew up a little bit more, like resources weren't available. I grew up a little more, we grew up poor, of sorts, and we had to get creative. Like things weren't just handed to us. So I've always been very creative in my pursuit to figure out solutions to make my life better. I don't feel like I was a victim to certain circumstances. I was always trying to find a better way to do life.
And I love that. I think that a lot of people, they can fall into that, and they can become the victim mentality, right? Or it sets them back. But I think it's healthy. I grew up poor.
Yeah.
And that's one big struggle I have with my kids when we, with the life they're living, is I'm very conscious about trying to make them understand how lucky they are, and, all these different aspects of that. Because I think if you earn it, it's a lot more
valuable,
right?
For it gives you self-worth.
Yeah. I always use this analogy. I bought a motorcycle. I bought a chopper back before I lost everything, and it was like a $40,000 motorcycle. It was my dream.
Yeah.
And I bought it, and the first year I rode it like 1,500 miles. Second year I rode it 500 miles. Third year I rode it like 70 miles.
Right.
And I always look at it like, if I was given, somebody came in and gave me $10 million, things wouldn't be as special, really. No. You think you want that, but I think that, like you said, being creative and earning it makes that trip to Hawaii feel so much better. Or starting your new business, if somebody
you
just
work harder for it because
it's that effort that, the struggle that is actually the reward.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you graduated high school, and then where did you go from there? Were you married right out of high school, or?
Yeah. Well, I got married at like 21.
Okay.
And then we immediately came into certain hardships, and we moved around a lot. And I mean, so I just learned a lot from a really young age. And I actually find those things so valuable to my story.
Right.
I mean, I had hard knocks from the beginning to all through my 20s and 30s even.
So because you guys are siblings.
Yeah.
Right? Blood?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. So it's Serenity Segmiller, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I've known a lot about your hit story where you guys went out, you had all this property at Coral Canyon now.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like to hear, if somebody's not from here, they don't understand. But now that's a golf course.
Yeah.
It's
And that our grandparents' house is still there.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's rad. Where?
It's literally sitting in the middle of all the rest of the house.
Is it
now.
really?
It's in Burke Springs.
That's
That's our
awesome.
grandpa. It's called Burke Springs.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So
That's insane. So you kind of grew up around that, out there with horses
Yeah.
and shooting, chasing
our grandpa
rabbits.
dug the first spring out there.
We
Really?
literally
when my
were.
dad was 13 years old.
Yeah. So
That's
cool.
crazy.
Yeah, we grew up wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think again
Literally.
is so healthy.
Yeah.
I think I was actually visiting some of Gina's friends yesterday, some people she just met. We went up to their house Sunday. Yeah, 2 days ago. And they have this spot where the backyard's basically just the hills. It's up over here in Washington.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my heck, my kids would love this. It's like my cabin.
Yeah.
You know, when you have that freedom of just roaming,
Oh,
Yeah.
that is so healthy, I think, as a child.
Oh, we were just out catching. We were catching crawdads in the pond. We were
Catching
hunting
lizards.
scorpions
Skinny
and
dipping.
lizards.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we got
Yeah.
swimsuits.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
You're in regular clothes and we just
Playing
Yeah.
with the
Up at a river.
horses. Yeah.
So that's probably where it started then, right? That's kind of where you,
Oh yeah, that's my roots.
yeah.
That's what I know. That's what I thrived off of. I wouldn't change that for anything.
I love that.
Yeah.
So got married, went through some struggles. Was that the recession or was that before?
No, before
Okay.
just things happened with my relationship and my husband, and we made it through. We moved a lot of places. We were uprooted. We were essentially homeless in San Francisco at one point because of my husband's job and some hardships. And I actually look back at that and I'm like, that's amazing. We made it through that.
So same, you didn't get divorced.
Nope.
Well, see, that's amazing right
Yeah.
there, right?
I mean, marriage is hard though.
It is so hard.
Yeah.
It is so hard. And
Yeah.
I tell my boys all the time, the two biggest decisions you're ever going to make are what you do for a job and who you marry. Those two things, I think, determine so much of your trajectory.
Yeah, this is what I tell my daughter too. My daughter is on the cusp of getting married to a Navy SEAL. He's going into
Awesome.
the Navy.
That's cool.
And I mean, I don't know if I should be announcing that just yet, but
This will come out in a few weeks, so
Yeah.
you got a little bit of time.
yeah. And eventually they're getting married. That's their plan. But
Yeah.
that's what I keep telling her. Like, who you marry is going to define your life.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was engaged. So I was engaged to a girl here in town. Dated her all through high school. Got engaged, just the Utah thing. My family's like, didn't go on a mission, so you might as well get married. And I got engaged, and she had like the dress. I mean, it's pretty bad. She had the dress bought, invitations sent out, and I called her and I says, I love you. I want to still be with you, but I don't think we should be getting married. We're 19. And she was mad, obviously. I mean, it was embarrassing for her.
Okay.
And I called it off, and then she just disappeared.
wow.
And was like, I don't want anything to do with you. I can't believe you do this. And that's when I met, like we talked about, Jaquetta.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the way I did that was I called my dad and I says, Dad, my stepdad. I says, Dad, I am so nervous. I'm 19 years old. I do like this girl. I love her. There's things that make me nervous about her. And what should I do? I've just kind of been going through the motions because of the pressure. And he says, I would make a pros and cons list. And I sat down
Let's
and
get real
wrote.
pragmatic
I
with
did.
it.
I
Yeah.
sat down and made a pros and cons list, and it was like 5 pros and like 30 cons. And I called her up and said, hey, I don't think this is. I said, I think we can still work through this, but we need to date longer.
Yeah.
And she was out. But it was one of the best decisions I ever made because I look back and like Ricky knows the girl that I'm talking about, and she's a nice person.
Yeah.
But it just would have been a lot different. I mean, what I ended up with is a person that fits my personality better,
How long have you guys been married?
18 years.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, we're actually going on our anniversary trip in 2 weeks. So we got married on November 28th.
Okay.
So yeah, it's crazy how fast it goes, isn't it?
It is.
It is scary.
Yeah.
But I think that, like you said, for you to say that you made it through that, marriage is hard. And I always ask my grandpa, who had been married 50, 60 years, why didn't you get divorced? And he's like, we just didn't quit, and I see that with a lot of success in business.
Yeah.
I talked to Ryan, and most of my businesses, there was 100 times I could have shut them down.
Yeah.
And it probably would have made sense, within reason. But I'm glad I didn't. Coming out the other end and what it's made me, like you said,
Yeah.
I'm sure your marriage is better because of what you know
yeah,
you can
ebbs and
get through.
ebbs and flows. But yeah, we definitely fought for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long have you been married?
23 years this year.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's in this day and age, that is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
You know, that's something, that's its own adventure right there, right?
It is for sure.
So married, how long before you had kids? Right away?
Right away.
Right away. Yeah. That throws another
Yeah.
wrench into it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And so we had my daughter right out the gate and through all the things, and yeah, so she's been along for the ride.
And so you've had two kids?
Uh-huh.
When did the next, is it a girl or boy?
Is it a boy?
Okay.
He's 4 years younger than her, so she's 20. They're both 20. She'll be 22 in January, and he'll be 18 in January.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you're empty nesters
Yeah.
real close, right? And that's another.
So I just want to go explore. I'm
Yeah.
like, spread my wings and fly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
It's weird because we're 4 years apart.
Yeah.
Oh,
you
that is
know?
weird.
And then she said that.
Yeah, very
2
similar.
kids,
Yeah.
4 years apart.
Yeah.
Another girl. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's weird.
Yeah.
It is, and their names
Yeah.
are weird.
Are
and
you
they're-
two the only siblings?
Well, we have a half brother.
Okay. But blood, you guys
he's
are the
13
two.
years younger than me. So
Okay.
And he's
15 years younger
18
than-
years younger than me.
Yeah, 18,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
So you've got 2 kids, married, and then where did you go from there? What happened after that? What's your story?
2 kids, married. I mean, we just did all the things. We moved around. We were uprooted for like the beginning of our 20s. We tried the religious thing. We've done it all. We've gone bankrupt. We've gone through everything that a marriage could go through. And yeah.
Yeah. And I love that. I didn't ever get to bankruptcy. I was on the I actually would have, but my dad's property was guaranteeing a loan.
Yeah.
So I couldn't.
Yeah.
Because he would have lost his property. So I had
Right.
to.
There's so much tied to it. Yeah.
But it would have been easy. It would have been faster to declare bankruptcy at that time. But we didn't. But yeah, that's a lot of things to come through.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when did you start, how long ago did you start your business?
I started my business.
Is this your first one?
10 years ago, yeah.
Okay.
But my husband's an entrepreneur.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he does construction, and
Okay.
he's always been drawn to.
I know his dad.
Yeah.
And his
And they
dad
do
is that way,
businesses
right?
together. Yeah,
Okay.
the apple doesn't fall far from the
Okay,
tree.
yeah.
They're the same.
His dad's a stud. He's
they
such
work
a good
together.
person.
They own businesses together.
Okay.
They own the industrial units over there.
Okay. Yeah, which
together.
we rent from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So you started this 10 years ago. What is the business? What made you
decide to do it.
Yeah. What is it? I don't even know what it is.
Well, I've always had odd jobs. Are you familiar with the Enneagram?
No.
It's a personality test, and I'm really into psychology and
I'd hate to see
personality
what mine is.
tests.
That'd be scary.
Yeah, I want to run all the coding on you.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah,
Because you're fascinating. But so I'm a 7 on the Enneagram. So I need adventure. I need things to change. I need variety. I need movement. So I've always worked. I've always worked odd jobs, but I get bored fast. And if I'm not creating my own thing, is what I learned. It's not going to hold me. It's not going to hold me. I'm not doing it for money. I'm doing it for experience and connection. Typically, any job I've ever had was to connect with people and for creativity. So I decided finally, I'm just going to start my own thing. I don't care how abundant it is or prolific. I just want to be creative, and I really need to create something. So I started a boutique, and I started with $1,000, and I grew it, and I posted every day on Instagram, and I just stuck to it. I didn't have any resources. I just had me. And so I literally just grew that thing. What I do know about me is if I want to do something, I will do it. And without resource, I will make my own resources. So,
Well, like you said, you got that from being younger, poor.
yeah.
I tell my kids all the time, like, I can't do this, or I can't afford that, and I'm like, get creative, start figuring it out.
And that's for me, when I look at our children who we've wanted to give everything to, there is a detriment there because they are losing a certain creativity.
100%.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think we had Sean Villalobos on, right, Ricky? And he was talking about that. The Enneagram, is that what it is?
Enneagram.
Yeah, I always think that sounds like a heart procedure.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something similar to that. But he said, I actually remember, he's a very high achieving individual. I actually met him on a hunt, and he's, you probably know, who's the guy here that he works for? the like Prime America or whatever that is. What's their names? Up in Stonecliff, they like World Financial Group.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah, that's the business.
Okay.
It's what's his name that everybody knows? I know you know him because they would have been friends with your husband. The dad is, I'm drawing a blank.
The Holmes?
The Holmes.
Yeah.
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 So they work.
Yeah, I went to high school with Jamie.
I was gonna say,
and
I know
Steve.
you know all of
Yeah.
them, and so he works for. I met him in Hawaii. He lives in Tennessee, and he's way high up in that.
Yeah.
And he's our age.
Yeah.
And he's real successful, really good person. And he was talking about that, and he said that was one of the biggest things that helped his marriage.
Are we talking about Monty?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about your Enneagram thing.
Oh,
but yeah,
okay.
Monty. So he works for. I just making the connection.
Right.
But he was telling me about the Enneagram thing. That was the number one thing that helped his marriage was that.
Yeah.
And I says, why? And he says, because
Understand.
you understand who you are and you understand who your wife is, more importantly, and what their needs are. He says, I thought she needed that, but I found out she wanted this.
This
So
is why I do astrology. It's literally psychology. Carl Jung says they should be one and the same.
Yeah.
Astrology and psychology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very, interested to hear that because I've never been introduced to that world.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that does make sense when you can start, like you said, psychology. It's like you can start diving into what makes me tick.
Yeah.
What makes your people tick.
Oh, it helps me love people so much better when I understand. We see things as we are, not as they are.
Right.
So when you can be objective and understand people from their particular coding, it changes everything.
Yeah, that's a good point because you're judging them, thinking from the outside looking in.
Yeah.
And once you analyze who they are, you can say, wait, you're not a bad person. You're just,
This is where you're coming from.
this is what how you're saying it or how you're doing it. Because so many people are misunderstood, right?
Yeah. And that's a great pain point for all of us.
100%.
Yeah, that's all we really want is to be understood in connection.
Yeah, relationship.
Yeah.
So the boutique is here in St. George. You've had it for 10 years.
I've had it for 10 years. I started off so small.
That's
I opened
crazy.
my first brick and mortar with $5,000.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then I grew it and I'm in the middle of town right next to Judd's.
Oh, I
in
love
a
Judd's.
historic building.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I moved here right after they I moved here in 7th grade, so I missed all like the breadsticks. I think it was the rave.
The 6th grade center.
It's not. Don't just throw up your hands like the breadsticks. Okay, they were excellent.
Yeah, are they still
They
there?
still are excellent. My good friend Heather owns it now,
cool.
and
Nice.
she's worked there forever.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we're just like a little.
I need to get down there. My
Yeah.
wife went and got they do it like soups or something or
Yeah, they do some good
soup and
soups. Lots of
breadsticks.
candy.
Yeah.
It's so nostalgic.
yeah.
Old style candy, which is
Yeah.
fun. The stuff.
Yeah, they were everybody
Old fashioned.
everybody from here knows about Judd's.
Yeah.
And I came right after. And what was cool about back then was the 6th grade, everybody came together.
Yep.
And then you went to Snow Canyon,
Yeah.
Dixie, or Pineview.
Where I
Yeah.
met my wife.
That's where I met my husband.
No way.
Yeah, in 6th grade.
You
That's
met her in
awesome.
6th grade?
Yeah, we've
That's
been
so
friends since
funny.
sixth
That's
grade.
cool.
I
Yeah.
didn't realize that.
Yeah, because when
Weird.
I came to Pineview, everybody's like, oh, I know him, I know them. And I'm like, they go to a different high school.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we all were together
Yep.
in 6th grade.
I
And I
was-
went to. I mean, we both went to several.
different high
elementary
schools.
schools.
Yeah, and elementary. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
So,
moved around a lot. We are nomads.
Why?
We were raised by a single mom.
Yeah.
Okay.
you
Yeah.
know,
Like around like
around
St.
town,
George?
Yeah.
And then
So-
we also moved to Salt Lake
Yep.
at one point.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she was just trying to just make ends meet.
I moved more times than I was old by the time I was 18. So I'm sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was funny. I joke about the fact that I've lived in the apartment that I live in longer than I've lived almost anywhere
Same.
else in my entire
Yeah.
life.
That's
as an
wild.
adult.
Yeah, and it's only like 4 years,
Right.
you know. But
That's
I moved every
crazy.
6 months. It felt
Yeah.
Just because of money.
Yeah, I mean,
Just financial trouble.
you know, like she kind of was just
Relationships or
She-
something.
all over the place. So when she came up with an idea, she'd just run off and go to college
she-
and take us with us. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just hustling, just trying to figure it out.
So,
She was
yeah.
a runner.
Yeah, for real. Like,
Have you analyzed her personality?
My whole entire life.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
a great.
she would randomly show up with a truck packed in our childhood.
Yeah.
And just be like, we
We're-
gotta go. We're
the-
moving.
No way.
Yeah.
Like,
Which
it
is
was-
tough.
yeah,
That's
it's
hard
rough.
as a child.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
that's gotta be
leaving your
tough.
friends, like everything you know, constantly. It's
Right.
it's crazy.
Right.
But I mean, it also builds a lot of like
resilience and
With yourself.
adaptability.
Yeah.
You've got to find your home inside yourself when you grow up that way.
Well, and I say that, and then I take my kids for 3 years at a time.
Right.
We move every 4 days.
Yeah, but they have you guys. There's a safe place
Right.
with you.
Yeah.
And
Ours was more of like it was a dangerous place.
it was
with our mother.
survival. It was survival mode. They're living the dream. Your children are. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't know that. I didn't
Yeah.
know that you'd done that.
Yeah.
So 10 years ago, you start this business. It's a boutique that, what does it do? What is it? It does the anagrams or does it sell stuff?
So I just sell women's clothing, and really what it is for me is just.
Is that what a boutique is? Am I just?
Yes. A boutique
that
is just
describes it.
a collection of things
I was thinking
that you
store,
sell.
but it's a boutique is that. It
Yes.
sells
Clothing and like little knickknacks.
What's it called?
It's called Scout and Cloth.
Okay.
And
I think I've heard of that.
I actually have a
Sure,
cool
my
story of
wife's
why
been
I
there.
named it that way.
Okay,
That
yeah.
is relevant here.
I love that.
I read this book, Women Who Run with Wolves, when I was like 30 years old, and it changed my life because, and I'm
write
sure
that down.
your wife knows of it or would love it. Really, it's just Clarissa Pinkola Estes wrote it, and she's just like this witchy woman who talks about who we are as natural women, how we're here to actually be adventurers, explorers, and explorers of our souls and the natural world. And that's where we are, our essence is. And we're not supposed to live in this box.
See, I like that because that's not what I think.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and I not what I think. I do believe that, but I think most women don't. I think they think they're here to like nurture and make everybody else
and
live
that is
their
actually
dreams.
a part of it, because what it's talking about is we are wolf pack. Women are natural wolf pack people, and we're here to protect our people and to nurture them, but within a wild aspect.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell her. I don't know if she's read it or
Yeah.
not, but that's exactly what she's trying to do.
Yeah.
Is build this community of people that have each other's back.
Yes.
But then it's
It's a
okay to
tribe.
go. It's just crazy when you talk to a lot of these women. I just hear the stories and she doesn't get specific, but she'll just say, I talked to this woman today that wants to do this, and her husband says no.
Right.
And it's like, because I think the husband is probably nervous that if you start, but that's what I was getting to earlier is if you have a happy wife, a happy life, right? It's
Right.
a pretty common phrase,
Yeah.
but we don't understand it. But I think these women who can go out and get outside the home doesn't mean they're going to be worse mothers. Doesn't mean they're going to be worse
No, they're
spouses.
actually
They're
going to be better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they're full.
They're
and
fulfilled.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
fulfilled. One of my favorite sayings is, "I'll keep you safe. You keep me safe. I'll keep you wild."
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's a beautiful
Yeah.
how relationships should be.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always like the aspect of, just because of, being in the aspect of how much I enjoy service. I think that in a relationship, when you're constantly thinking about, the needs of your spouse, and if they do that back, so like, they take care of themselves, for in a retrospective idea, and then you take care of yourself. And in that way, you're kind of like relieving any kind of stress on the other, because they're always thinking about you and you're always thinking about them.
Yeah.
So if you're constantly always taking care of yourself, then there's no stress on them to constantly assist you, and they can just live their lives.
Well,
and
it's a
kinda-
sovereign relationship. Yeah.
My
And I like
buddy
that.
actually just sent me a quote this morning. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, let's take a quick second and step away from this conversation. I wanted to talk to you about a couple things we have going on with M42 Adventures. As many of you know, we just had our first ever firearms class here in Southern Utah, and absolute wonderful experience. I actually took my son, my mother, and my dad all came, and we had almost 40 people come out to this first experience. It was so successful that we're going to be having another class coming up January 25th, 2025. It's going to be a defensive pistol class. So if you're in the Southern Utah area and want to come out to this, reach out to us. You can email Chase and that's Chase with a C, CHACE, at m42adventures.com and let him know, and he will reach out to you and get you the information. Also, I wanted to let people know that the Genesis, our online community, is open and live. It's been going for about 2.5 months now. We've got 70-something members in there, and it's starting to get really good in there. We've got 5 mentors, and it's wonderful. So if you want to check that out, it is free till the end of the year, and we'd love to see you in there. So just a few things we have going on. We're going to have more stuff coming up here shortly, but that's what we got going on as of right now. So let's get back to this conversation. That's what he was talking about. He says, I think we have a buddy going through a divorce in San Diego that's struggling right now. And he says, I think
so hard.
It's so hard. It's rampant. You know, that's what's scary to me. But he was talking about how he's never been married. He's 44, never been married. He's a good dude. He just, whatever. But he was talking about how what he sees in good relationships is when you're trying to find the things inside your partner that they need, and you just try to bring them out,
right?
Constantly, whatever it is. And it's a simple, basic, common sense thing, but a lot of us don't do that.
Yeah.
We're trying to manipulate or play games or
try
to feed our own
these
needs,
different
kind of thing.
things, and so I think that's, if we can get to that, I think there's just so much in there from what I see of these. The big thing that I see, and maybe I'm generalizing this too much, but from the few divorces I've seen lately, it's from the women leaving.
Yeah.
It seems more. And I think it's because they're just buried.
I think the paradigm is shifting of what a relationship is and partnership. And what women are actually looking for is connection. We no longer need safety. We need it like inside ourselves.
That's a good point.
Not where we can take care of ourselves financially now. Those things are shifting. And so now what we're looking for in partnership is safety within and within our partner.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because
Yeah.
you think back, I always told my grandpa this. I read a thing a few years ago that said in like 1910, a person spent like 80% of their time putting food on the table. And in 1950, it was 50% of your time was putting food on the table. And now it's like 3% of our daily effort is to put food on the table. I mean, you think about that 200 years ago.
Well, we're no longer in survival mode.
There's a grocery store,
Yeah.
So like you said, that's actually a good thing to think of is the basics are covered.
Yeah.
So
And now
we
we're
got to go
looking
deeper.
within.
Yeah. Which I know I'm not great at. I just had a gentleman on here, Jesse, a few weeks ago who went through a divorce, got 7 kids. Do you know Jesse Callahan from Pineview?
Yes, yeah, I do. I know who he is. I don't know him personally.
Yeah, so good dude. He came on here and recorded with us. And again, it's I know this is an adventure company, but I also believe this is part of the adventure, right? If you're not, so with our Genesis, we have the 4 core, right? Which I can never remember them.
Financial, fitness, spirituality,
and relationships.
Yep.
Well, what is adventure? It's excavating. It's looking. It's digging. It's
well, and I don't want to go.
exploring,
I don't want to go camping if my relationship's falling apart.
Yeah.
I can't go to Italy if I'm broke. So I think these do make sense. I know maybe people feel like we're getting off topic, but I don't think so. And it's my podcast.
I love box jumps.
Yeah.
I'm ADHD, so.
Yeah. So I just think that it's like that. This, So I had Jesse on here, and he was just talking about how communication was probably the downfall of his marriage.
Yeah.
A lot of men either run away, which I do.
Well, men
Or
have a hard
break
time
things.
being vulnerable. And
Yeah.
that's what women want. They want that vulnerability. I just had this conversation with my good friends last night. It's all coming down to we're seeking vulnerability.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like you said, I think this is good for me to hear.
Yeah.
Because
Chase, you're really good at that, actually, though. I have to say that.
It took time.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I think like you're saying, it's good for me to hear because we're as men, I'm thinking we need to, provide, protect, right?
And we do want that.
Yeah.
Too.
But yeah.
I think you have to be
But-
strong in the way that you're vulnerable. Like, like it's like communication. Like just making sure that you deliver the message in a way that's not like an emergency or like that everything's falling apart. You just explain like how you feel and what's going on in your life and the ways that you need assistance if you need it.
Well, we naturally are defensive. So if your wife is naturally emotional and she comes to you with an issue, men are going to be naturally defensive because they want to be all these things.
Solve it. And and why aren't we? We feel inferior immediately.
And what a woman just really wants to hear is,
I'll work on it.
yeah, you're right. I see that. What do I need to do?
Yeah.
Take accountability. And
I think
women will just...
I think with me, the fear is, when's it going to stop? It's always like, hey, you need to do
There's
this
always
better.
something because
And it's like, it's like, oh, if I change that and I change that, pretty soon I'm not going to recognize myself.
Right.
So I think you have to kind of balance that out.
Yeah.
But that's, again, if you can figure out marriage, let me know.
Yeah,
But-
I have
So was your
friends-
husband always supportive when you first wanted to start your business? Was he just like, go for it?
He's an entrepreneurial, like that is how his brain works.
But
Yeah.
he was, so I mean, with the kids and everything, he was just like, we'll figure it out. Very supportive.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
And my kids were older when I
Yeah,
started it. They
right.
weren't in like this young era.
But still,
yeah.
8 or 10. I mean, they're still in the home.
Yeah.
Needing.
My
some,
daughter
some
worked
attention.
at 13.
Oh,
She
that's
started
awesome.
working for me at 13. She has amazing people skills now because of it.
I
Yeah.
think that's so healthy. I
Yeah.
think that's so healthy. So I think that's a big deal. And I tell everybody, right, behind every great man or a great woman is a great man or a great woman.
Yeah.
I see a lot of these relationships. I was actually just out on I guess I won't get too specific, but I was out on a trip recently, and one of the guys was saying, I'm nervous to go home because it's going to be a nightmare and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, that sucks that, she's not just like, did you have fun? Did you recharge? Good to see you come back. She's going to bring him back with guilt. And, he literally says, she's just going to hand me the baby and say, it's your turn. And he's like, and I thought, man, that's tough. I'm so grateful. And again, like we said,
Yeah.
to find those spouses that, really, that nurture us.
It's about having our own path, but walking with the other.
Yeah.
And in support of what our own personal path is.
Yeah. Yeah. Because where would you
Yeah.
be without your business? I'm sure it's brought so much.
Oh, so much. All the things.
All the things.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
My independence, a certain amount of self-worth and
Yeah.
connection. And I mean,
And 10 years, I mean,
yeah. I've
statistically,
provided
that's
jobs.
tough.
Yeah.
People
Especially
who
with
want to start their
I
own
don't
businesses,
have
like, good luck.
A
It's
college
tough.
degree. I barely graduated high school.
That's how I was.
Yeah.
Same.
And so, yeah. And the fact that I've been in business so long is very profound for
It
me.
is.
Yeah.
And I think and like I said in the beginning, I think that's more a statement to your grit
Yeah.
and your resilience
Yeah.
than our intellect.
Yes.
I don't attribute a lot of my success to my intellect. It's just that
But
I'm
I
too
s-
stubborn.
But also you're an intelligent man.
To an extent.
Just because
Yeah.
school isn't in the resume.
Yeah, and I tell my kids, I actually hope my kids don't go to college.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a funny thing. So
Well-
my goal with my kids is when they turn 18 and they should go into college, I want to send them traveling. And I told them for every 30 days, I'm going to give them books to read.
I love it.
All my business books.
I love
and I'm
it.
going to create tests. And as long as so for every week they have to read a book. And if they pass the test, I'll pay for them to go to the next week and the next week. And I'll do that for 2 years.
Yeah.
So I'll pay for their entire travel for 2 years, but they're going to have to read 100 books and pass the test. But I think you're better off to read,
I'm
like you said.
obsessed with that.
Yeah.
Experience is the ultimate teacher.
They're gonna
and
read.
story is the next ultimate teacher.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because I don't want them to miss out. I know how important college was and the experience, and it's fun.
Mhm.
But I think they'd get more out of that by backpacking around the world for 2 years.
100%.
And then as long as they're reading these books and I'm testing them, then I think it's a win-win. They're going to be getting, and I think you get more out of, like you said, man's search for meaning behind me. I think you get more out of these books, like you said. The Woman Who Runs with Wolves, right?
Yeah.
Changed your life.
Mm-hmm.
The one that changed mine was the 4-Hour Work Week.
Oh, no.
Have you ever read that?
Mm-mm.
So yeah, I loved 4-Hour Fitness.
Yeah, he's
No,
same
4-Hour
author.
Body. Yeah,
Same,
Tim Ferriss.
Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
So I read the 4-Hour Work Week when I was just down and out, and he talks about how Americans brag that we work 80 hours a week, and I did. I remember
Yeah.
talking to my dad, and I'm like, I work 80 hours a week. I'm making all this money. And he says, what's more impressive than that is if you could work 4 hours and make the money from 80 hours of work.
That paradigm is shifting too. We're moving out of this.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I think the biggest flex isn't the Lambo. The biggest flex to me is that you can go
The quality of life.
take time out. Freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom for me
It's
is
my
like,
favorite word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. That's it's like if you say, hey, I don't have to go into work today, or I can go do what I want. I respect that a lot more than the big truck you drive.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Most
So
of that, I mean, with a lot of people that are like that, it comes from being humble. Like actually staying humble and being wealthy makes it so you can do everything. You don't have anything tying you down. You don't have a lot of payments. You don't have all these fancy things that you're going to be thinking about while you're out enjoying your life. Like there's a huge disconnect, I think, with people attaching themselves to things and trying to acquire things to go on adventures And it's like, just go do it. You know, anything that you need when you're out there, like rent it, you know, like you do, you know? And I mean, you know, my dad told me a saying when I was younger, you know, if it floats, flies, or fornicates, rent it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like,
He did pitch.
and it's just one of those things where like, I always used to wonder what he meant by that. And as I got older, I was like, oh,
Well, yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that I get that, you know, obviously the last part's kind of a misogynistic thing to say.
For sure.
You know,
I've heard it and I say it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
But I think that's what people are missing is, you know, when you have all these things like we had and then you lose them, you're like,
Oh,
well,
it
that
changes
wasn't
your
important. It's like
perspective.
that nice motorcycle that I bought. I'm like, I do not give a crap about that thing. I want food on my table for my family now. I want a roof over my head because I lost it all.
Right.
And so when I started building back up, I'm like, I don't need the big truck. I had all that. And that was to impress people that, you know, when you lose everything and you're sitting in a room, I'm like, sure you did with your husband.
It's a crisis and it sifts everything out
It's
that
like-
no longer serves you, and it's a
Yeah.
lesson.
Yeah. And it's like,
Yeah.
who's important?
Yeah.
Who matters in my life? And
Yeah.
it's like
Well,
that guy and that girl, you know, my husband and my daughter, that's my people. The guy at the stoplight that saw my big old truck, I don't care about him.
Yeah.
You know, the people at the gym, and I know St. George, I think St. George is as bad as anywhere
Yeah.
on
Oh,
that.
yeah. Huge.
But I think if we can, you know, help people overcome that to where, you know, your value isn't in your big truck. You know, if you like that, I don't have a problem with that. I love nice vehicles. It's my downfall, you know, but don't go out there and get into debt, get a huge payment, and then be chained to that, trading your time that you could play, you know, soccer with your kid at the park. Is
Well,
my
I think
view.
that paradigm is shifting too, because I think we grew up that way. We work hard, we labor, and we buy these things, and we're cool.
Yeah.
And we have value in this society because of it. That is 100% shifting.
Yeah. Is it? See, I'm kind of
Yeah.
disconnected. I've been gone and out of the loop. It's crazy. I come out to St. George and I'm like, wow, this
Every
is
time, right?
The houses and stuff. It's amazing. They're beautiful. But you do see that because
Well,
you're
in
probably
my
plugged.
world, and when I'm attracting into my world, I mean, I do think that there are
Good.
leaders in it
Good.
that it's changing.
Well, and I would imagine with what you've got going on and you know, being a business owner and, you know, the influence you have, you probably run with the people that, you know, I would think I would listen to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I've definitely attracted people who are on that same page and
Yeah.
wavelength, looking for experience and connection over anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So entrepreneur, you've been doing that. And then from what Chase tells me, you love everything. You ran marathons. It sounds like
I have a tent on my Jeep. I drive a Jeep. I have a tent on my Jeep. I mountain
On the roof?
bike. Uh-huh.
See, I've seen those. Are they pretty cool?
Oh, I love it.
That's
I
awesome.
can just pop it
Makes
open. I can
camping
do it
easy.
myself. Yeah.
I've seen them around. I just didn't know if they were like functional.
Yeah. Oh, when I do it
Yeah,
by myself.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you got side by sides. I mean, you got all. What do you guys do?
We have side by sides. We have property and collab.
So you just like you basically you like to just be outside,
It's my
the lake,
it's
camping,
my church.
whatever. Okay. So for people who are listening and that just don't understand that, I have people. We go down to San Diego, and they're like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "Utah." And they're like, "What do you guys do up there?" I actually remember being at this bar down there, hanging out and talking to these people. And this is like 10 years ago. And they're like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "Utah." And they're like, "What do you do?" And I says, "I like camping and hunting and stuff." And they're like, "What? How boring. You know, what a one note life."
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, "What do you guys do?"
That
And they're
was
like, "We
their
come to the bar."
reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. They're like, "What do you do? You just sit there in a tent?" And I'm like, "What are you doing here? You're sitting in a bar." You know, like yours looks very one note to me, but they think we're like backwoods, just, you know.
And I've lived both ways. You know, I've lived in so many cities that it's ridiculous, and the energy there is so much different. It's almost like you have to live like that kind of lifestyle in order to feel fulfilled, because the city itself gives you nothing. Like it feels not grounded. You feel disconnected. Like just in general, you know, concrete jungle is the true name for it, because there's almost not a tree anywhere. There's almost no grass.
You couldn't get me to live in a city.
It's the weirdest
know.
thing that I've
Yeah.
ever been through, you know, and then just being in all those different situations, and then, you know, getting to experience going in people's houses in all those cities. That probably taught me more things than anything.
Yeah, because
The
you did
experience
alarms.
of going into their actual homes, speaking with them, getting to know like their, you know, lives and how they live, and then the situations some of them were in. I mean, it was awful in some circumstances, and I just felt very deeply for these people. And it was really rough, but it gives you that compassion to just completely be able to understand where people are at. And so, when altercations or different things come up in life after that, I was just like, oh, okay, I can see that, something's going on with you. It doesn't have anything to do with me, So, we'll just take this for what it is. But I really think that there's something important in realizing that nature really brings you something that nothing else can. Like everybody seeks a certain life in cities, and it's all about creating like marketing, connection, business, and partying. Like that's a huge thing. And so, there's a huge nightlife in cities. We don't do a lot of stuff at nighttime in the nature,
things like that.
Like you go to sleep when the sun goes down in nature. So it's exactly the opposite.
Yeah, it's
the way
a cyclical way of life. Yeah.
So it's just it's the same, but it's completely the opposite.
I have a buddy who
and all are necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like both. I do. That's the thing with them is I'm like, I see your guys' life and I think it's fun and I like mine. And I'm glad that I don't, I'm not just this or just that.
Yeah, you can play in it all.
Yeah. It's like I can see that this is fun, but you should try camping too.
Yeah.
You don't, if you've never tried it, don't knock it.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's where you'll meet your soul. Like you'll go and
that's what I think.
You'll the quiet and you'll
I had a
tap in.
buddy that I was just out at his police. I had a buddy that I was just out to his ranch in Minnesota, and I don't know what the word is, but this surprised me. I don't know how that, but he says one of his favorite things to do is sit in a sauna. And then he says, and then I go outside to cool off and I walk around in the grass and connect with the ground.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's a little, whatever the word is for me. And so
hippie.
Yeah, hippie. Yeah.
Me and my wife ground every morning.
So he built a sauna on the ranch and he's like, okay, Rick, I know you're kind of teasing me. Come on, let's go get in here. He fired it up and we walked out and we're under the stars and he's like, just think about the ground and just think, and he's like, just walk around and just try to be in the moment. And I'm like, all right, dude, you're not going to convert me,
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, this is different.
Yeah.
It was different.
Yeah.
It taught me to not knock it.
Yeah.
I says, to my wife, I called her and I says, I'm walking around out with Matt, in my boxers after being in the sauna and we're looking at the star constellations and he's like, just feel the grass and just be grounded, I guess is what you call
and
it.
the science behind it, I could never explain it, but
he didn't get into that, but what is it? Do you know
your body's just picking
I'm gonna
up
make
all
you
the,
explain it.
no, I can't. but your body is alchemizing to the earth and it's intended to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
It's
you
a
said,
discharge.
we came from hundreds of years ago, right? We were out there, hunting and gathering. And I think I think the big thing for me, because I've done that.
Yeah.
But the big thing for me was thinking about doing it.
It's
Being in the moment. Like I've gotten out there and I've thought, this is amazing. Look at the stars, but I've never been like, feel the grass.
Yeah.
See the lights. Like really be present. It was a different
It's
feeling.
a physical meditation in a way.
Yeah, and that's a good
because
way to say it.
in a mental, when you're in a meditation, you're cleansing yourself. And also I organize my day and stuff like that when I meditate. But I'm cleansing myself of all of the negative energies, like I actually visually I watch it leaving my body. And then when it's grounding, it's a more physical release of all of the negativity and sometimes static discharge energies from other people, that you collect as you walk around, every single day. And,
that's what it's doing.
Yeah.
It's you're
unplugging.
Yeah, you're literally like releasing all of the things that you don't need anymore and kind of like
and absorbing
like a blood transfusion almost, but with the earth and energy. So
I need to look more into that because we do these experiences. We had 30 people at my parents' ranch in New Harmony. Have you been up there?
Yeah.
That's a cool spot, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, you came up one day. It's a really cool spot too. And I think I need to look more into that and not be so not even naive, but just judgmental.
Yeah.
Because I really think there is value there that I don't know about.
I always tell everybody
With the astronomy and the astrology and the grounding and going, like you said, I've never thought of it as therapy.
Yeah.
But when you just said that, it's like therapy makes sense to me.
Yep. And, I always tell everybody, try everything twice because it might be an acquired taste.
Yeah, Woody always says, I try everything 5 times.
Yeah. So, you never know. You might like it after a minute.
Yeah. But yeah, that's interesting. That. Yeah, so running the business and now off to adventure. What's next? You got the kids out of the house soon.
The Gage graduates high school in May. My daughter's probably going to go off to Coronado, California. I don't know. Where are we going?
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
he just ready to go?
I'm ready for adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually have a passport with, I've never used it.
Oh, really? You
No.
never been out of the country?
No.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I've been to Mexico on a cruise, but yeah.
Yeah. So when we had gone to Mexico and Alaska and Hawaii, or, those were kind of my big things.
Yeah.
And then we bought a one-way ticket. I sold my business 60% of my business in December of 16. And in February of 17, I bought one-way ticket to France. And my number one thing on my list was Normandy. I wanted to go
Why?
My dad was in the military. He died. He passed away, my real dad, before I was born. My mom was pregnant with me, so I never met him. But
Are you the youngest?
No. Oh, yeah. Yes, I'm the youngest. She ended up getting remarried, and I have a sister.
Oh, okay.
But I'm the youngest of three at that time. And I just have always admired military.
Yeah.
I just think
too.
that's why we're here. We're
Yeah.
free. It's like and I admire the military now, nothing against them. I do admire them now. But back in the day, like World War I, World War II, some of those things that happened were just horrific.
Horrific.
D-Day,
Yeah.
these little young boys, 18 years old.
Yep.
Imagine
Fighting
your
for their
son,
lives.
imagine Gage
Yeah.
hopping out of a boat, and it's just like, and so
What part of the military was your dad in?
the Army.
Okay.
Yeah. So so that was our number one, and it was crazy. I mean, I'd never left America, and I have two little boys. I don't speak French,
You just felt connected to.
I just knew I wanted to go somewhere. I didn't know where to go, and that was a start.
Yeah.
And so we went there. I always tell everybody, because you always hear the French are, punks.
Yeah. They don't like
a-holes,
Americans.
right? Yeah,
Yeah. They have their reasons, I guess.
Well, so we went to Normandy, and we stayed at a place. We stayed in a barn. It was a horse stable I'm not going to remember the name, but we stayed in a horse stable that was 100 years older than America.
Yeah.
I'm like, what
It's
does that
crazy,
even mean?
right?
In a barn. How did you find it?
You're like,
It
this
was
is
Airbnb.
500,
Amazing.
600
And they
years
had
old.
they'd converted it, and it was funny because I woke up in the night. I was sleeping in this room, and my wife was sleeping in this room with it was a 2-bedroom, and so I slept in here with a 4-year-old, and she slept in here with a 2-year-old or whatever. And then I heard something. I was dreaming, but I jumped up and went running in and like did that. What's that? Dance with Wolves thing, where I
Really?
hit the.
Oh, man.
It was like I'm 6'5", and it had to have been like a 5'5". I don't even know, but I hit
Those
that.
small.
Holy cow.
I hit the doorway and was on my back, and Gina comes in, and I'm laying there, and she's like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "I heard a sound," and there's blood all over my face.
Oh my gosh.
About knocked me out. But anyway, so then we moved on, and a month later we ended up in Carcassonne, France, and there was this little guy there that we rented from. I did Airbnbs most of the places, and I told him our story and that we just went to Normandy, and he started crying, and he says, "I will forever be grateful for America. They saved us."
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I'm like,
You weren't
"Whoa."
expecting that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're still friends with him. I've stayed there 4 times now
Oh
with
my
him.
gosh.
He sends us birthday cards, and I have friends all over the world. I can go to 50 or 60 places all over the world and stay with people that we love.
That is so profound.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. I mean, with technology these days, my WhatsApp goes off 2 or 3 times a day, and it's like, oh, New Zealand, oh, South Africa, oh, you know.
What place are you most drawn to that you've been to that you feel like
That's a good way to actually put it, because most people say, "What's your favorite?"
Yeah.
And I don't. But drawn to is I really loved Italy.
Oh, I'm so drawn to Italy.
Yeah, it's just cool.
Yeah.
The history. We've spent like probably, I don't know, 6 months in Italy.
Where at?
All of it. So whenever we go, we road trip. So I'll rent a car and we'll road trip. I drive everywhere, and we stay like 3 to 5 nights everywhere. So we move every 3 to 5 nights for 3 years. And we travel in backpacks. So no carry-on luggage, in the very beginning, I took all this luggage, you're just
living the simple life.
Yeah. And I'm dragging I'm fighting with my wife. I'm dragging this big old suitcase down the road and trying to fit it in the car, and we're stressed out and pissed off and fighting. And we learned that doesn't work.
Right.
So now we were all in backpacks, and we just travel light. So because we're moving so much, and then if the kids' shorts wear out, we throw them away and buy a new pair of shorts.
And what are the kids' reflections of these experiences?
I actually was thinking about that. Gina actually said this weekend, she says, you should have the boys on the podcast because I mentor the travel channel and I mentor the finance channel.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, you should have them on for the travel portion because I've never really asked them.
Oh,
yeah, that's awesome.
that would be an amazing conversation I'd want to hear.
Yeah. For a lot of it. So I have Hayes and Castle. Castle's 13. Hayes is 10. And so they travel for a lot of it. They don't really remember, but just the last few years, they love Australia. That's their favorite place. They beg to go to Australia. Those places are nice. Like Australia, New Zealand are cool because it feels a lot like home.
Mm-hmm.
Does it?
They speak English.
Speak English.
Yeah.
We'd go, I remember we were in Czech Republic and we'd been traveling for like 8 months and hadn't met, like, I don't remember meeting anybody for a couple months that spoke English. We got over into like really Eastern Europe. And
does that make you homesick?
I always miss my grandparents. I was really close with my grandma and grandpa. So that was really tough. They've since passed away. They passed away when we were in Australia actually. And we packed up and flew home. But it's getting easier. I hate to say that. My parents are still here, which I'm close with, but there's not a lot of draw, that makes me miss home. It's mostly just friends and family.
Interesting.
And so we invite a lot of people out with us. So we've had people visit us all over the world, and that kind of keeps the homesickness at bay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's been crazy. It's been a wild ride.
I really enjoy places I can get lost in. So like, I've lived here my whole life, pretty much. I mean, other than the, like 10, 12 years that I just was all over the United States. But in that aspect here, I can still go to places I've never been.
Oh, for sure.
And it's crazy to think about, because I did so much, just trekking around the desert and the hills out here in Pine Valley and hiking everything I could think of, but it's never ending.
Well, and I think that's what people miss is they hear my travels and they think I've got to go to, Iceland or something. And it's like, you don't. No. That's fun and that's different. But man, you can come out here. So we came home in like 2 months before COVID to have a baby and planned it to come home just to have a baby. And then we got stuck for COVID. We ended up road tripping the U.S. for a lot of that.
You did?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to do something.
Oh, my gosh.
But then we came home again just to have a baby, another one. I thought we were done. She wanted another one. I'm like, I'm not going to tell you no. So that's why we're here now.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I always wanted to start this. I think it's a good time because we are going to start wrapping it up more. What we plan on is leaving for the next year and a half. And then we're going to start doing like 2 months here and then a couple weeks, just kind of like a normal vacation.
So have your kids ever gone to school?
This will be their first time ever. Wait a minute. No, they're not even going to make it.
Was it Castle that played his first baseball game?
Hayes.
Okay. Yeah.
It was,
first baseball game. It was awesome. I didn't know who was in it.
Well, the game, it was awesome that he was doing it.
That's what I'm saying.
But he was horrible.
The fact that he had never done it, like didn't know anything about baseball, was just out there playing.
How old is he?
Oh, they made him pitch.
Yeah.
And did I tell you that?
Yeah, but there's just the fact that he was just out
10.
there doing it. Like
Oh,
he didn't even care. He's just like, I'll figure
their
this out.
confidence is too high.
It's crazy.
I'm like, they need to be humble. He went out and pitched.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, Hayes, have you? He literally got to the game and went out to start pitching, and his price tag was on his glove.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, Hayes, your price tag's on. He's like,
Newbie.
yeah. But we just hurried and got him in because he's never played a sport.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say this is their first year of full school. COVID, they missed it because it got ruined.
Yeah.
And then, let's see, we got home in December last year. So they got the end of last year. So they've never done 1 year of school.
But they're confident because they've had all this experience.
Yeah.
One of the favorite things that Rick ever said about his kids, my favorite things that he said, is that his kids have been so many places that they don't know the language of the other children. But just the fact that they can go up and somehow have this physical, language, relationship where they understand each other and they can play together, but they have no language, the language barrier is completely there.
I remember we were in Italy in the very beginning, and Castle came up to me. He was like 5, and he says, "Dad, I don't know how to play with these kids. They're not speaking English." And I says, "You just got to figure it out. You just got to figure it out."
It's energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the end of that trip, we were there 6 months. By the end of that trip, we were in Germany. And he's over there playing Pokemon cards with a German kid. Neither one speaks the other language.
Yep.
And I says to Gina, look at that. 5 months ago, he did not know how to.
That's a profound skill, actually, that most adults don't even know how to.
Oh, yeah. My kids, it's crazy. We go anywhere in the world and they'll go to a playground and they'll make friends and they cannot talk.
Yeah.
They cannot talk to each other. And they're playing tag or they're playing whatever they do, and it's like, it's pretty wild, to see that. The story I tell too that's kind of a funny one is we were in, I think Chase has heard this. We were in Australia and Castle was 7 years old. Have you heard this where he lost his tooth?
Oh, yeah. No, you told me. This is hilarious.
So he lost a tooth, and in America, we give him $5 and a pack of gum. I know it's high. Inflation, guys. Bear with me. They're spoiled. So we give him a $5 bill and a pack of gum, and in Australia, he lost it. And so I went in and, he's old enough to know if he's listening. And so I put a $5 Australian dollar under there and a pack of gum, and he wakes up the next morning and I'm like, did the tooth fairy come? And he starts crying. And I'm like, what's up? Why are you crying? And he says, I got $5 Australian dollars. He says, in America, that's $3.17.
He knows.
And I'm like, my 7-year-old just converted the cash and realized and I'm
You're like, we're winning.
Yeah.
Fine.
So there's all these funny things, but yeah, it's everybody always says like your kids are never going to remember this. And I'm like, I'm not doing it for my kids.
Yeah.
This is my life. My kids up until they're 18 is under my control. And I want to go to Italy. I want to go to France, and it's not hurting them. Yeah. But it's not about them. It's like,
do you find people have judgments about it as a parent?
It's funny. It's so funny because I get home and people are like, hey, what have you been doing? I'm like, I've been traveling the last year or two. And they're like, oh, that sounds horrible. Oh, you went with your wife for a year? And I'm like, I do not remember asking any of these questions. Like they just
so much projection.
Yeah. And I've learned that I think it's either they really don't want to do it and it sounds horrible to them, which is fine, or they're annoyed. It's like, oh, your life's perfect, Rick. Like I'm going to try to bring you down a notch.
Right. Because they don't have access to that kind of freedom.
Yeah. So it's one or the other.
And that can be painful.
Oh, 100. Oh, I know how it is.
Yeah.
I remember it happens to me still today, where I see somebody and they're like doing something crazy and I'm like, I'm going to unfollow you. That's too much of a mirror in my face.
Exactly. Those mirrors. But
so
I'm inspired.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, that's what M42 is. And I tell everybody, like, I'm literally trying to help people live their dreams, like that's all I'm here, that's all I'm here. And most of it's financial, but also overcoming all your, insecurities. But anyway, yeah. So enough about me. So I think we kind of cover. Is there anything else you want to add or say out there to people out there that are listening about, coming back to kind of women and, we need to work on our branding and our message to women.
Why don't you talk about, because you do a lot of this, what we haven't talked about a lot is that she does a lot of her adventuring with her friends and not with Chris. So she goes out a lot with just by herself. And so she has the confidence to go out and do that. There's not a lot of women.
Gina
that I know.
actually, so I asked Gina, I says, what do I say to a woman that I'm interviewing? Cause I'm nervous, how to do that. And she says, I would ask her, what she likes doing. Yeah. And then is she nervous to do that alone was one of Gina's questions. She says, I would be nervous to go, to the gun thing. We had 32 shooters and 5 women. Yeah. And it's like, why did more women not feel comfortable to sign up for that? I know our audience is a lot men right now, but what is that? How do we, and I know this is a loaded question and you probably don't have the answer right offhand, but I really want to try to encourage specifically women to get out of their comfort zones. How do you overcome that?
Yeah. Well, initially I I actually don't have a husband who enjoys, he does like his safe space. He doesn't like to travel. So I started off, and when I was young, by the way, I moved to Hawaii on my own. This was pre-internet. I decided to move to Hawaii.
Pre-internet?
Like the internet was available, but it was like
dial up.
We're still calling each other on the phone.
Isn't that weird we can say that?
This was landline time. I moved to Hawaii just on a whim.
To Oahu?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, the North Shore area. And then I moved to Lake Tahoe. And then, and so I'd already like done those things. And because I had moved so many times when I was young, it gave me confidence and the adaptability. And then I did marry someone because that doesn't like to do those things. So I decided, and that was a huge source of pain for me because I am an adventurer. I am a free spirit of sorts. I am curious by nature. I want to experience everything. So because he didn't enjoy that, I just started building my own, those experiences because that's fine. You don't enjoy that. I will go do that. I will go to Hawaii with my daughter.
That's very unique.
I will go to, me and my daughter have gone on so many adventures together. I go camping by myself. I have friends who enjoy that. I found like-minded people. So for me, it's just like, this is what I value. And so I'm going to do it. And also just build so much within myself when I am making my own plans, and I'm, and I haven't actually done it in a while, but I used to travel all the time just by myself.
Yeah, that's rare.
Yeah.
From what I've seen and from listening to Gina, with her community is a lot of times when the man shuts it down, it's shut down.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know her mom talks a lot about this. My mom is actually, my mom and dad travel a lot, but my dad travels only to hunt.
Right.
It's so funny. I'll be like, Dad, you should come to Costa Rica.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, what can I hunt there?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's banned there. And he's like, what?
You can't hunt in Costa Rica?
No, it's one of the only, I think it's the only country or one of the only countries that has banned hunting, period.
Oh my gosh.
But we found deep sea fishing, so it holds him over.
That's still.
But my mom's like, I'm just going to go. And she's come all over the world with us without him, and she's like, I'm just going to go. And I respect that so much because you can do that. There's no rules.
No.
Everybody thinks that means you have a bad marriage. Or they're like judging you, like your husband doesn't want to go, so you camp alone. What's wrong?
Right.
It's like he'd rather
you get married and we have different values.
Yeah, he'd rather be watching a baseball game and I want to camp, and we do that separately. But it doesn't mean our relationship is actually healthier.
Yeah,
because we're supporting each other in what we want to do.
Well, we should be independent beings. I mean, there's a thing called codependence.
It's healthy.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Yeah, and I think that again is like what M42 is trying to help people with.
Yeah.
If you can come in here and meet these like-minded women or men or people and sign up, And the other thing too that I think is changed me for because we travel a lot, but in the last few years, I just went out to Minnesota with 10 guys. I went to Alaska with 12 guys. I went to Hawaii with 14 guys. That's just in this last year. What I'm seeing also is maybe if the husband can make a connection, not with the travel, but with a person, so like if your husband could come and make a friendship, it's like, I have a lot of buddies who don't like travel, but when we go to Minnesota, they don't like the airport. They hate flying. They hate all those things.
Yeah.
But that is the trip they look forward to because it's the boys or it's, it's the couples.
Right.
Yeah. And so I think that can also help pull those ones that, are like being home out of that.
Right.
But again, I don't think it's unhealthy for people to just say, see you later. I'll be back.
Yeah. We have to have our own experiences. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially, I think it's very healthy. My wife just went on a girls' trip to Duluth, Minnesota. Like, what?
What's in Duluth?
Her friend lives in Minnesota. So they met in Minneapolis and then drove to Duluth. But they went and saw the fall leaves, which were insane. I mean, we think we have good leaves. It's crazy.
That's why they went.
Yeah, just a girls' trip. They didn't care. They just were like, we want to be together. What's something around here that's a place we can go? And that's what Gina said. I'm like, Duluth? And she says, I had a blast. But it's not about Duluth.
Yeah.
It's not about the spot you park your Jeep necessarily. It's about all the things you get from it.
Yes.
It's the
extra journey. Yeah.
And like you said, unplugging or connecting with somebody or...
it's weird because, Serenity said that she came out for the Lamborghini thing. And honestly, one of the most fun things I had during that entire time was sitting down with her and talking with her at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Because we don't do that.
Yeah.
We have a different family, and it's fine. I don't, I don't look at it as anything wrong with it, but it's just we don't spend a lot of time communicating or talking about, painful things, like, most of childhood is traumatic a little bit, so to go back there and really want to dive into it, it's not really fun. So, but
it's
really
probably
enjoyed
healthy
that.
But also
to an
healing.
extent.
It's
Yeah.
cathartic. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, because you two are the only ones that can relate.
Yeah.
You're the only two that could have that conversation.
And sometimes, if you try to talk to somebody else about it, like, you're full of it. That didn't happen.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, is there anything else you want to add that you think people need to hear?
I just think I'm so inspired by what you're doing, and I would love to meet your wife.
Yeah,
and
I think you guys would hit it off.
Yeah, and get on and be a part of anything that you have going on.
Yeah. No, I think you guys would hit it off. And what's your husband's name? Is it Chris?
Chris, yeah.
Okay. I knew of Chris. Do you know Nick Hepworth?
Yes, he dated my friend Lindsay Park.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm really good friends with him.
I'm pretty, yeah. Okay.
And I think he
Lindsay,
knew
huh?
Chris.
Uh-huh.
And I'm trying to think. I wasn't popular in high school at all. I always teased Nick.
I wasn't popular.
Was
he?
I?
Was he?
No.
Yeah, I was not at all.
I had a lot
and I
of
didn't
friends.
care, which I really didn't.
Yeah.
I used to do Brian Foot's homework.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he'd pay me.
Yeah. For real?
Brian. Yeah.
Brian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So I run around with him a lot now. Something just happened to my audio.
I love his friend, or his wife, Heather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did it, Heather, for a little bit.
You did. What a small world.
Yeah. Before. So yeah. Anyway, we're all mixed up here in Utah.
We're all connected. It's a small world.
Yeah, but like I said, that's I love your story. I think that more people, more women, would benefit.
Yeah.
From some of the things that you can inspire them to do as well.
Yeah. This inspires me to build a community like yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Or to be a part of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's, like I said, it's not. It's just so healthy.
Yeah.
I look forward to these trips. So we have them planned out. Next year I have Hawaii planned out with the boys. I have Minnesota planned out with the boys, and Alaska with the boys. It's set in stone. Dates are booked. It's every year, and I just look so forward to it.
Yeah.
And my
that's
wife
what
does,
we
because I
need.
come home and I'm like, I missed you. I've been gone for a week.
Yeah, you need that
It's so
polarity.
healthy,
To reunite.
Yeah.
That's so healthy.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think, and like I said, the people who are at home and they're stay-at-home moms, there's nothing against that. I always say it's on my wall over there, but my Instagram is One Life So Live.
Yeah.
It's
I
One
love
Life,
that.
One Life to Live, I think was taken. So I changed it to So. But it's like, I think so many people live their parents' version of their life.
Yeah.
Or their husband's version of their life, or their wife's version of their life. And it's like, communicate,
Yeah.
say, these are my needs, and then go out and get them.
I think that's so important. I think you're leading the way to so much more of what we can build.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's just a creation of experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think it's hopefully the game is changing.
It is. The paradigm is shifting.
Yeah. I
and
love that.
you're a part there's so many magic makers.
Yeah.
I love to see it.
Yeah. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
I know
Thank
you're
you
busy.
for having me.
Yeah. Thank you, Serenity. Thanks for Chase for introducing us. And hopefully
Thank
you can
you.
come out
Chase,
on an
love
adventure.
Love you.
Okay, so there you have it. Serenity Thurston. Absolutely pleasure. Grateful that she took the time to come down here. Obviously, you could tell that she's just a fun, excited about life individual. And so a lot of good information in there, a lot of stuff that I picked up that I need to work on and kind of, just change the way I look at things, and a lot of stuff in there on relationships and things. So I want to tell her that I'm grateful that she came down. If you get a chance, if you're in Southern Utah, go out and check out her boutique. It is called Scout and Cloth. And I'm going to go check it out and hopefully connect her with my wife. And, I think they'll become friends because they have very similar personalities in wanting to explore and get out there and adventure and just help people and just live life. That's what that's the vibe I got from her, is she's just excited and she's, wants to be a student. And so awesome conversation. Thank you for Chase sitting in on that. That's her brother. And I know she was a little bit nervous and she did a fantastic job. And so grateful for both of them. And thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a great weekend, and we will catch you on the next one. Thank you.